What is up, my imagination connoisseurs? It is I, the notorious RMB, coming at you on this Sunday afternoon. Sorry, I don't have my face light on because I carelessly forgot to charge it. But that is going to be alleviated today after I set up a better system to talk to you. It's going to look different in here. I'm stepping up my game. I got Wirecast. I got a Wirecast switching board. It's going to be like a regular TV studio. You're going to love it, I promise. First things to get out of the way, today would have been film composer Jerry Goldsmith's 90th birthday. That's right. He was born in 1929, February 10th. Now, if you guys don't know Jerry Goldsmith, you should know Jerry Goldsmith. Everybody knows Jerry Goldsmith. Other than John Williams, he's probably the next greatest film composer of all time. And as a matter of fact, some of my favorite scores of his that literally I grew up with, his score for the original Planet of the Apes, his score for the Blue Max, his score for both The Omen and specifically, actually all three Omen scores he wrote, The Omen, Omen 2, and I love The Final Conflict, Omen 3. I love his score for that. I love his score for Logan's Run, another great score of his. Patton, a great score of his, of course. Perhaps my favorite score that he ever wrote is Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which celebrates its 40th anniversary this year, which is amazing. So he definitely, I mean, I cannot tell you, when I was a kid, I did not listen to rock and roll or music until I got into junior and high school. What I listened to was film scores. And my grandmother would buy them for Capricorn 1 from 1977's Capricorn 1, another fantastic film score by the great Jerry Goldsmith, truly a maestro. Total Recall, did I say Basic Instinct? There's so many great scores that Jerry Goldsmith wrote. I think back, the man was truly a giant. Of course, he didn't have the signature scores of, say, like Jaws or Star Wars, but he did. The theme that he created for Star Trek: The Motion Picture was famously later used for the Next Generation TV series. And his score for Star Trek V is amazing. And his theme for Voyager is a terrific, terrific piece of music. Fantastic stuff. So I remember him on this day, and I hope that you guys will too. 90th birthday. Another thing I've been thinking about this week, if you have not seen it, you've got to check out Netflix's new series, Russian Doll, that has been brought to you by Amy Poehler and Natasha Lyonne. Natasha Lyonne stars in the show and delivers an Emmy-winning tour de force performance as the lead character, Nadia. And it's just a fantastic, mind-bending series. And I've been watching a lot of interviews that she's given, Natasha Lyonne has given. She actually wrote and directed the final episode. But the Black Hole score still haunts me, says Kush. That was John Barry, not Jerry Goldsmith. But that is a great score. But you've got to watch Russian Doll. It's amazing. And watching Natasha Lyonne on various talk shows discuss the show, she's an incredible talent and a whip smart girl. I mean, I highly suggest watching her interview on Build, the Build Network. You can see it on YouTube. She brings up Bob Fosse's All That Jazz. She says her own character was patterned after Elliot Gould's character from Robert Altman's film The Long Goodbye, where Elliot Gould plays sort of a modern version of Philip Marlowe, which is my friend Peter Avellino's favorite movie. If you haven't seen The Long Goodbye, you should check it out. But listening to her just where she came up with these ideas, true talent, an astonishing. I mean, she's been plugging away for 25 years in the business, but this is truly, it is a very memorable performance, and it's a really interesting story. It brought to mind a favorite book of mine that a lot of people don't talk about anymore, but they've been trying to make a film version of it for well over a quarter century. Ben Affleck was attached, and I'm, of course, speaking. You're like, what book is that? It's one of my favorite. It's a time travel story, but not traditionally. There's no machine that makes you travel back in time. It's very similar to what happens in Russian Doll. It's basically about a guy who, when he reaches his early 40s, he dies. And then he wakes up in his teenage body and he has to live that section of his life over again. And when he gets up to 42, he has a heart attack and dies, and he keeps having to do that. So it spans many of the different lifetimes. The book is called Replay, excuse me, and it's by Ken Grimwood, and it is a fantastic book. I can't recommend it highly enough. Russian Doll shares a lot of characteristics with that book, and really, I can't recommend it highly enough. But anyway, it got me thinking. Once again, my good friend Norman Lau, who is a great supporter of mine, both this channel and the Patreon and all that. He always is coming up with really interesting ideas. By the way, I read all your comments. I haven't done a good job in responding to everybody, but I read all of your comments, and I'm always looking for new ideas from you, whether it's on Patreon or whether it's on Facebook, giving me ideas for subjects to talk about. I keep coming back to things that Norman Lau just types to me all the time. And one of the things that he had come up with this weekend was, he said, listen, is there just too much content to consume? And he was speaking from a genre fan's perspective, science fiction, fantasy, and horror. People that the genre audience, comic books, we tend to really take these things under advisement and think about them more than, say, somebody who's just watching a sitcom. And he's like, when we were kids, there wasn't all this information. The internet didn't exist. So whenever you get information about a show, whether it was via Starlog or Variety, or you'd read some article about it in the newspaper, that was pretty much all you had. And any scrap of information about something that we loved, you would consume it, and it would marinate in your brain. You would think about it, and you'd contemplate it, and it was. I think that's one of my problems with modern Star Trek, is that as a fan, I grew up buying all the blueprints, buying the photo novels, and buying the Best of Trek anthologies with their great essays about the show, and same with Star Wars. When Star Wars came along, I did the same thing. I was buying magazines that were all about Star Trek and Star Wars, and the blueprints and the sketchbooks and everything, and you would think about these things over and over and over for months, and it would all marinate in your brain. You'd pore over Ralph McQuarrie's paintings. I got The Art of Star Wars, and I must have read the script 100 times, looking at all the artwork in the books. And it was, I think in a way it was much more heartfelt, because you get a Star Wars movie once every 3 years, and that was only for a 6-year span of time, and then they went away. You had 77, 80, and 83, and then Star Wars was gone for a long time. And there wasn't a new Star Wars movie. I mean, yeah, you got the Droids TV series, and you got the Ewoks series, but there wasn't an onslaught of stuff now like there is. I mean, and it was manageable. Content was manageable. Even if you loved science fiction, fantasy, and horror, you could see it all. Like, you could eventually get to all of it. I've often spoken of when Star Wars came out, there was a book that I bought, Alan Frank's Sci-Fi Now. And it was a pictorial history of genre cinema, mostly science fiction, but it touched on horror and fantasy films. And in that book, I think it was published in 1978, I vowed that I would, I'd see every movie that's in this book. And I have. I've seen every movie in this book, with the exception, as many of you might know, one movie. There's one movie in Sci-Fi Now that I've never seen, but I bought it. It came out on Blu-ray a couple of years ago, and I've never cracked open the cellophane that covers the disc. I almost don't want to watch this movie. And the movie is Richard Lester's post-apocalyptic film, The Bed Sitting Room. It's a wacky, and I can't really speak about it because I've only read about it in Sci-Fi Now and other books. But Richard Lester, who directed Help, the Beatles' Help, and of course he famously directed Superman, well, a version of Superman 2 and Superman 3, made this movie. I think it was in 1970, and I've never watched it because when I got Sci-Fi Now as a kid, in the wake of Star Wars, I'm like, man, I'm going to see every one of these movies, and everything from like the Quatermass films. Shout Factory's releasing Quatermass 2 and Quatermass in the Pit. Quatermass 2 is one of my favorite 50s science fiction films. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it, it's got a Body Snatchers vibe to it. If you haven't seen any of the Quatermass stuff, people say Quartermass. It's not. It's Quatermass, Dr. Quater, like equator. John Carpenter was heavily influenced. He even put his name, his own. He used the nom de plume Martin Quatermass when he credited Martin Quatermass for the screenplay of Prince of Darkness. Also, for those of you who collect physical media, apparently the 4 Canal Plus blue 4K 4-disc 4K sets of John Carpenter's movies, They Live, The Fog, Prince of Darkness, and what was the last one? And Escape from New York, are out of print already. But Canal Plus is now going to release the 4K single disc only versions that start coming out in March. So if you were interested in getting those, they sold out very quickly, and now Prince of Darkness hasn't even come out yet, the 4-disc set. And I have it on pre-order at Amazon UK, but you can't order it anymore. So I assume that because I ordered it months ago that I'm still going to get mine. But if you're interested, those sets are incredible, and the transfers of the films look amazing. But so anyway, this book, Sci-Fi Now by Alan Frank, it was something. And by the way, I still have my copy, but you can get it on eBay. It's completely outdated now, but it's a really interesting look at up through 1978. It's a great pictorial history of genre cinema. And if you're not aware of genre cinema from that era, I highly recommend picking that book up, because it was an education for me, and it's a terrific book. And that was another thing. In the wake of Star Wars, we got all these interesting books, the Science Fiction Encyclopedia, and there's Gilbert, ladies and gentlemen. He's here. It's a little drizzly today in Pasadena, but these were fantastic books to have. And if you were a fan, I mean, I can't tell you, I must have read that book again 100 times, and you'd memorize those movies. And when I first had a VCR, and you go through the TV guide, and I would circle movies that would play late night at like 3 and 4 in the morning during the week. I'd be like, oh my God, there's a movie I've never seen, and it's in Alan Frank's Sci-Fi Now. Got to see it, time shift that, and watch it. But what he was saying, what Norman was saying about, is there just too much stuff? I feel like now I don't watch things the way I used to. And I feel a little bad about it, quite frankly. I'll watch something, and then I used to watch it again, or maybe a third time, and really, like, for instance, I finally caught up with Widows this weekend. Steve McQueen's Widows, and was it Steve McQueen? I think so. See, again, I would normally know the director off the top of my head, but if you haven't seen it, Viola Davis and Michelle Rodriguez are in it, and they play the widows of these husbands that committed this robbery, this crime, and they're all killed in the process. And I finally got the disc and watched it, and then it's on to the next thing. And I really liked the movie. I didn't do any reading up on it, the baking of it. I didn't go check out interviews. I didn't, and that's like, what's next? What haven't I watched? What program do I have queued? And it got me thinking, I mean, am I enjoying this stuff as much as I used to? I mean, you grow up, you change, things are different. But do I still love this content? I mean, I would watch this stuff over and over and over again. Now there's barely time to watch something once. And I feel like I'd watch things 2 or 3 times to just get the full enjoyment out of them. The first time the story's being told and you're watching it unfold, and you allow it to sort of happen to you. And then the second time you can really drill down and analyze the direction and the cinematography. And then the third time you notice things you didn't notice the first 2 times. And then you can listen to the commentaries or whatever. And I find myself not doing that anymore. And that's how I learned so much, watching films multiple times. And, it started with Star Trek episodes and Twilight Zone episodes. You'd watch them 100 times and they never got old. I still watch classic Star Trek, and it doesn't get old, which is, it's unbelievable to me. But, when I was watching Russian Doll, I found I've been thinking about it after I saw it. I didn't even know if I liked it as much as I really loved it when it started. And by the time it got to the end, I'm like, I don't know if I liked it that much. But I kept thinking about it all day long. I've been thinking about Russian Doll, and then the days turned into a week or something. And I was so stunned by Natasha Lyonne's performance and the fact that she wrote and directed the final episode, which I didn't know her background. She'd gone to film school, and so I looked up what's great about the modern technology that we have is she must have been on TV promoting it. She was on with Amy Poehler that she co-created the show with, but then she does this great interview that I recommend everybody watch. If you watch Russian Doll, go look up the Build channel on YouTube, and they do a pretty deep dive interview with her. And not only does she strike me as somebody I would love to be friends with and hang out with, but she was really incredibly intelligent. And the references that she was pulling from, it makes it a joy. I want to go back now and watch Russian Doll. Each episode's 8 episodes. Each episode's only 20 minutes, 20 or 29 minutes tops. So you can really, once you hear a creator speak, it's fun to go back and watch something and you get more out of it. So again, I can't recommend Russian Doll highly enough. I think you should watch it. But it led to this thing about how like there is so much content. I know the idea is, well, you don't have to watch it all. Well, you don't, but I'm so interested in media, and I have been my whole life, that it's hard for me when I hear of a water cooler show. There's some shows like, for instance, Breaking Bad, which is what I think is one of the great TV shows of all time. I didn't watch Breaking Bad the entirety of the run on television. I never watched one episode, but it's like you got to catch up with it. So when it came out on Blu-ray in the 50-gallon oil drum set, which is one of my favorite Blu-ray sets ever, just because the packaging is genius and the whole thing is great. Plus, it's almost to scale with my Walter White and Saul dolls, my 12-inch dolls, action figures. And it was a tremendous show, but I was able to binge watch it. And then there's a great documentary about the making of the show that I've read up, Vince Gilligan articles. And, I really want to know the stories behind what it is I'm watching, but I find myself able to do that less and less and less and less and less. Like, I'm a huge fan of the original Swedish versions of the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies, Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, and the new version, The Girl in the Spider's Web. I didn't watch that because it's not based on the original author's books. It was a spinoff. They kept the books going because they became so internationally successful. But I did get the disc. I do want to watch it because I'm a fan of Elizabeth Salander, and I love the series. And by the way, if you like those movies, I cannot recommend highly enough the extended versions of all 3 of the Swedish versions. There's extended versions that are each a half an hour longer that were done for Swedish television, and they're great. But that's the thing. So it's like, not only is it impossible almost to keep up with all of this, I don't even know if I enjoy it as much anymore, because I feel like it's such a silly thing. I mean, talk about first world problems. Oh, woe is us. There's too much great media to consume. It's a silly thing, but as a fan and as a student, I mean, I consider myself as much a student of media. I guess if somebody loved the art world as much as I love the media world, whether it's television, but it's also books and comics and all of it. It all feeds into, and then there's YouTube videos. Like, I watched a YouTube video today that this guy wrote. I think it's called Thoughts of Ice and Fire, Ideas of Ice and Fire. He's African-American pundit that went after this inane article that said that Dune, the book Dune, which is one of my favorite science fiction novels, indeed novels ever, is about Whitey saving the universe, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's a complete, this article that guy from Ideas of Ice and Fire took on. He said, "This is insane. I'm a black man, and this is a complete misreading of the book." And I don't know that guy from his channel. I've watched his channel before, but he does a really great job pretty much eviscerating this dude who wrote this ridiculous identity politics article about that Dune is really just Whitey saving the poor colored folk trope. And it's not. It's the furthest thing from that. And again, this is the kind of thing I like. I like watching a deep dive. And when this guy, he was mad enough about this stupid article, and he's a student of Frank Herbert's Dune, that he went and made a video about it. And that is the best kind of video for me, because then I love hearing what other people think about things that I love. And so, that led me down a path. And then it was taking me away from, oh, I'm not going to watch this movie I wanted to watch this morning before I did the show. But again, I wonder if my own enjoyment of all of this media, have I reached peak enjoyment? And is it all going to be diminishing returns from now on? I mean, what's so great is we're getting so much awesome content. I was lucky to, I've not seen The Expanse season 3 yet. And that just dropped on Amazon. I'm waiting to catch up with that. I love The Expanse seasons 1 and 2. And they're based, of course, on an 8-book, unless they've added another one, an 8-book series that's terrific literary sci-fi. And again, if you love The Expanse, you got to read the books, right? And the books are bananas. I mean, where that show's going, like I can't even imagine. They're pretty good adaptations of the books, but the books they get out there, and it's huge, epic sci-fi, and I'm really curious to see where they go. But if I like a show, I want to know as much as I can find out about who made it and why they made it, and it used to be possible to keep up, but now it isn't. And I feel like, am I doing myself a disservice? I watch these movies and I like them, and then it's on to the next. Am I doing myself a disservice by not doing the deep dives and reading the interviews and seeking out the creators? However, if you want to do that, like I just went on to YouTube, Natasha Lyonne interview, boom, there it is. And it's amazing that we now have access to all of these people. And then I went on Twitter, and tweeted her. I don't know if she'll see what I tweeted. I just said, masterful performance. And I loved her talking about all that jazz and Robert Altman. And it's amazing that you not only can talk about these things and read about them, but you can actually get in touch. There is no more 6 degrees of separation. There's 1 degree of social media, and you can actually interact with people. One of my favorite actors is Richard E. Grant, who I recently started following on Twitter and would tweet to him, and he likes my tweets. But he famously, he was here for the Oscars, and as I said, one of my favorite things, I was saying this on the John Campea podcast with John Campea on Friday, one of my favorite things has been watching Richard E. Grant's journey through the awards cycle and going on the different talk shows. And the guy is having so much fun. And as he said, he's never won anything in his career. And to get nominated for an Academy Award is the biggest thing in the world for him. And he's 62 years old, and he's got this giant smile on his face. But he stopped by Barbra Streisand's house because when he was 14 years old, he grew up in Swaziland, believe it or not. He wrote her a letter, and he never heard back. I guess he had a copy of the letter, and he went to Barbra Streisand's house, and he asked the guard at the end of the gate if he could take a picture, and he took a picture and explained the note and had a picture of the note that he wrote to Barbra Streisand in 1972 or something. And she tweeted him back, and he's all excited about it. He's talking about this on the Ellen show when he was there with Melissa McCarthy, because they're both up for Academy Awards for the movie Can You Ever Forgive Me, which is a great film, by the way. Love that movie. But it's just, we live in this world now where there's all of this great content. There's so much, but I feel like I'm not enjoying it as much as I used to. And I don't know. Do I not? It's such a stupid thing to think you're on this, but as a pundit who gets on the YouTube and talks about this stuff, I feel I'm obligated to educate myself, that I want to learn as much as I can. I want to honor my favorite creators with, giving their creations the due that they deserve, the same way that I would hope when I get to make things that I would be given that same consideration. I know it's kind of a funny, weird thing to worry about, but it was just striking me that there's just so much. There's so much now. It's like there's so much content, there's no content, because you can never get a handle on it. You can never get in front of it. And what does it really matter? And I'll be dead soon. But I don't know what you guys think. If you guys, have we reached peak content? Certainly the way I'm consuming it is different. I just am trying to stay ahead of it. It's like I didn't see Into the Spider-Verse for a couple of weeks, and I'm on a show talking about comic book movies, and I was like, oh my God. And people were like, have you seen it yet? Even on this show, people were like, when are you going to go see it? And I finally saw it, but I felt guilty. I felt guilty that I didn't avail myself of this great content that's out there. So anyway, that was what I was musing about this Sunday. Nothing big. I am going to get back to my series of movies. I've got my G's right here. Um, as some of you might have looked on the channel, I've been counting down 10 of my favorite movies from my collection, not my most favorite films of all time, but movies that you might not have seen. And just, I've been going through the alphabet and I'm up to G. So what I'm going to do now is, of course, look, first of all, I'm going to answer any super chat questions, and then I'm going to put these glasses on so I can read. And I will answer your questions. So let's see what we got here. Topher Rocks asks, by the way, thanks, Topher, for the super chat. Hey, Rob, favorite movie montage? Rocky IV for me. That's a good one. Favorite movie montage. Wow. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know. You know what? Let me come back to that. Let me think about that. Kush, we talked about the Black Hole score still haunts you. What a great score, by the way. Ugh, so good. Fred Hensley, thank you, Fred. Would be curious to get your opinion of the Nat Geo Mars show. Love the mix of future sci-fi drama to current day science. Dude, this is a show, again, I'm dying to see the show. It's into its new season now, right? And I can't believe I haven't seen it yet. And I'm dying to see it. I really want to see it. I mean, it's right up my alley. And yeah, I can't wait. Which is, I can't believe I haven't seen it. So let's see. What do you got here? Spike K. Spike Cree, like Cree Scroll. Spike Cree says, "Hi, Rob. What is your opinion about Midnight's Edge, Revelation, all Star Trek since 2009, and Discovery is all non-canon?" Well, I've never thought of it as canon. I mean, it's really interesting. A lot of people talk about Midnight's Edge and they're rumor mongers and all that, but I really appreciate their they if you haven't watched Midnight's Edge in their videos, they put a lot of production time into their videos, and I really admire that. And I think everything they say is you can take it with a grain of salt, but there's also a lot of food for thought there. And it's it's really interesting that I feel like I rail a lot on Star Trek Discovery, but I feel like I have been involved in this fandom for the better part of 50 years. And I've read so much about Star Trek. Of course, I've worked on Star Trek, The Next Generation, doing the documentaries. And I spent 3 years of my life talking to the people that made Star Trek all the way up to Rick Berman on down. And I feel I have some unique insight into Star Trek. And it's frustrating to watch a Star Trek show where they've spent less time thinking about it than I have, or than a lot of fans have. And now they're doing these stupid things like Captain Pike says, "Well, I don't like holographic, so tear out all the holographic." Like, so stupid. I mean, you can't go back and retcon your own show to make it fit more in canon with the original series. I mean, to me, it's pandering and dumb. But yeah, but I do like their videos. But yeah, I have never thought of anything beyond the end of Enterprise. I think of Star Trek novels I've read as canon. I like them. I think Collision Course, Shatner's book about young Spock and Kirk, is way better than Star Trek 09. Even though books aren't canon, why not? They are to me. Nerfer21 said, just watched a Chinese sci-fi film called Wandering Earth, which just opened. Did you go see it in China? I'm dying to see this movie. I watched the trailer. It's a huge box office success. Writer BL Ali says, I noticed Netflix has another Detective D movie listed, probably. If you haven't seen those movies, they're great. The Detective D films. I have the first one on Blu-ray. Crixus Maximus says, just watched a non-sci-fi film about Yuri Gagarin called Gagarin First in Space. Awesome film. I want to see that. I didn't know that Campia was live now, but he has a much bigger audience than me. You members of my post-geek singularity are different audience than John's, and I appreciate you being here. Darkhawk Mark says, new microphone, good job. Well, I've had this microphone for a while. It's it's a software issue I've discovered. I think I've figured out a way around it. Teddy Mopar says, sweet new mic setup. Yes, I've got a bunch of new equipment and a Wirecaster. These podcasts are going to be shot into the 21st century. It looks like I've even got an official sponsor, believe it or not, which I will be talking about later, not today. Joe Flick says, God rest Jerry Goldsmith's soul. I miss him so much. I do too. Josh Crichton says, Rob, I gave Campy a big fat meatball quote and he couldn't hit it out of the park. Crown Panda says, "Yeah, yo, nice new mic." It is. It's the same mic I had, but I've just put it on a mic stand, and I got a spit shield, a spit shield. Dale M says Peppermint has some horrible acting, in my humble opinion. Better than I could do, no doubt, but it was bad. I haven't seen Peppermint, but I love Jennifer, and I was a big Alias fan, so I will watch that. She's great. Crixus Maximus said the Great Bird screwed Jerry out of half his royalties by writing lyrics to the TOS theme. But Jerry didn't write the TOS theme. But maybe I could see that. Jerry's First Contact, writer B.L. Alley says Jerry's First Contact theme is so beautiful and haunting. I agree, it's great. Darkhawk Mark says First Contact was Goldsmith's last good score. There's an argument to be made there. I love the scene when the Phoenix unfurls and you hear that. It's a great theme. Fred Henley says, kudos, Rob. Your audio is rock on good today. Mike sounds great. Thank you. Other than my voice, which is thrashed, because I may or may not have had something to do yesterday that involved a certain character that I play for a certain group of people that I yell a lot. But I will neither confirm nor deny anything of that about what I just said. Clayton George says Jerry Goldsmith's soundtrack for The Omen is light years beyond what The Exorcist managed. Well, The Exorcist and The Omen are different movies. I think The Omen is one of the great scores of all time, if not the great horror scores. I mean, The Omen score, the score for Wojciech Kilar's score for Coppola's Dracula, amazing horror scores. I love John Williams' score for The Fury. That's a great score. Oh, so good. Clayton George says, reliving my teenage years would be surreal over and over. Man, the new mistakes I could find to make. Well, if you want, I can't recommend Ken Grimwood's book, Replay, highly enough. You got it. If you haven't read Replay, it's just so much fun to read. It's such a fun book. Kush says, the only thing that marinates in my brain with Discovery is reflux. Writer B.L. Alley says, Starlog and Fangoria were our internet. They are indeed. Sharpshooter 07 says the information has always been there. The boundary that used to encapsulate the audience has been taken down. It's true. I agree with you. Now we can there's so much out there that we can see. We have access to everything, which is amazing. Clayton George says, man, Starlog, Future Life, Fangoria, Gore Zone, Toxic Horror, CFQ, fantastic films, on and on. Anybody remember a magazine called Questar? I used to have every issue of Questar. Questar magazine actually did a Dawn of the Dead movie poster book that I have. Look up that. That's for you Dawn of the Dead fans. It's one of the rarest Dawn of the Dead collectibles. By the way, another collectible. If you like Dawn of the Dead, 112 put out a box set of Steven and the helicopter zombie from Dawn of the Dead, which just came out. Writer B.L. Alley says, Richard Lester, The Three Musketeers. Yes, The 3 and 4 Musketeers, absolutely. Vesna's here. Hi, Vesna, from, I think, I'm saying your name right? Vesna? Remember the time when we had just 2 TV channels, but I don't think there's too much content because there are so many replays now you could catch on the internet. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, but I wonder if I enjoy content as much now. That's the thing. I mean, I'm always... I don't get to go back. I still collect physical media, and I look at my wall of physical media. And as a kid, I mean, also I'm busier because I'm an adult and have jobs. And like last week was literally, I'm working on 2 movies. I had to do podcasts. I had to do a TV commercial. It was crazy. And I have to go talk on the internet and be on John's show every day. It was rough. But, I just, when you're a kid, I guess it's kind of like the Tom Waits in Rumblefish, when he's behind the counter, he's like, when you're a kid, you got time, you got nothing but time. And that was true. I could sit and watch movies forever, over and over and over again. I miss those days. I miss it. Maybe when I retire, I can go back and revisit these movies over and over and over again and until I'm dead. Crixus Maximus says, okay, this is weird. I was reading about a 70s movie called The Melting Man, which was ripped from one of the Quatermass movies this morning, The Incredible Melting Man. Not a great film, but it's a lot of fun to watch. It's very gooey, but I liked it as a kid. Clayton George says, Professor Bernard Quatermass, one intensely single-minded scientist. The man had a cold, logical mind, scary fellow. Yeah, the Quatermass movies are really cool. There's Gilbert, by the way, everyone. He's coming and going. If you haven't seen the Quatermass series, 20 million miles to Earth, and that's Quatermass in the Pit. There was also a really interesting, I want to say it was early 80s, a really weird British TV miniseries, a Quatermass TV miniseries. It's a highly interesting series of movies, but Quatermass 2 is probably my favorite. But if you haven't seen them, seek them out. And there's new Blu-rays coming out of the Quatermass movies. I can't wait to get them. The Blue Corner says, yes, it's Steve McQueen that did Widows. Good movie. But thought there was, the Blue Corner says it is Steve McQueen that did Widows. Good movie, but I thought the actual heist would be a bigger part of the movie. Yeah, but I liked it. I mean, I thought there was a lot going on in that film, which I read a lot of crime thrillers and like Don Winslow's books, and that's another series of books. If you want to read an incredible trilogy of books, read Don Winslow's The Power of the Dog, The Cartel, and his new book, The Border. It's like the Lord of the Rings of Mexican drug cartel books. Incredible. Jablog says it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. There isn't time to rewatch things because there's an exponential new content to move on to, and that ultimately leaves us less satisfied and chasing more. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like there's an emptiness in my soul because I can no longer consume content the way I used to consume content. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. The King of Scotland says, when you make too much of anything, you get a dilution of talent, which equates in a precipitous drop in quality. Art becomes a product to be consumed and thrown away. I feel that way too, but I think that it's the opposite is happening. I mean, we're getting a deluge of great content. There's so much, I think about shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Ozark and now Russian Doll. I loved Sex Education on Netflix. Wildly diverse programming that is all good. And it's incredible. And then I'm still hate watching shows like Manifest, which I'm watching it because it's like watching a car crash. But it is that there's so much, and I feel like I'm on this treadmill. Always, it never ends. But it's still good. I mean, it's still good that we have all that content. Jablod, I can't pronounce that. Jablod. I still read up on every movie I see on the IMDb. So there's that. Yeah, it's true. What's great is you can instantaneously get all this information you want about whatever it is you're watching. And I think it's great. Bennett Hardy says, so hyped for Endgame. MCU is literally in my childhood. I'm flying out to LA and I'm going to the El Capitan. Yo, see it. I saw Infinity War at the El Capitan at the first press screening, right the morning after the world premiere, and it was glorious. It was glorious. Pre-live teaser says Albert Finney recently passed away. He was in an excellent sci-fi series called Cold Lazarus, written by Dennis Potter. It's worth tracking down. I've not seen that. I love Albert Finney. If you haven't seen movies like Under the Volcano, oh my God, what a performance he gives in that. I mean, he was in Skyfall. He's been around for a long time, and it's a pretty goofy movie. But I recently picked up the Blu-ray. Warner Archive put out Looker, which is an early 80s sci-fi movie with a very cool Sue Sad theme song that I think Kim Wilde eventually re-recorded or something. But Albert Finney was great. The Blue Corner says, my favorite box set is Sons of Anarchy. Such a cool set with the box looking like the table they sat at in the shows. That's awesome. I love when they do that. Bunyan Snipe says, the extended versions of Millennium are great. You're talking about Millennium episodes? I like Millennium a lot, actually. Beatmaster says, the King of Scotland, then go ahead and tell me all the talented people to stop making a living. Well, I don't think he was saying that. But, it's the whole idea that I do think that I do think all media has been devalued, whether it's music or movies or novels or all those things, just because there's so much of it. I don't think people like it any less, but I just think that there's so much of it. It's like you consume it and you're on to the next thing. You don't really, it's like having a meal and wolfing it down without really savoring it. Bob Dylan says, have you ever had your front door kicked in? I come in the house and fuck your face up. I think that you, sir, Bob Dylan, I don't think you're really the spirit of what we're trying to do here is what you're interested in doing. But okay. Stubble McShave says, check out A Conversation with Darren Nesbitt. It's a 23-minute YouTube clip of an awesome interview with Major Van Happen from Where Eagles Dare. Oh, if you guys haven't seen Where Eagles Dare is such a great film. It's a World War II movie, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's good stuff. Crixus Maximus says The Expanse season 4, The Voyage of the Starship Rosinante. You know what? It gets that way. I can't wait to see season 4 and 3. Crixus Maximus says, definitely, I just watched Apollo 13 and The Martian as a double feature. What a great double feature that is. The extended version of The Martian is so good. Let's see. What else do people have to say? Bunyan Snipe says they did a live version of Quatermass on BBC4 a few years back. That's cool. I didn't know that. That's really neat. Let's see. The Blue Cancer says, Blue Corner says, I love buying steelbooks of the movies I love, but yeah, there just isn't time enough in the day. So my collection is filled with movies I've only seen once before I bought it. Yeah, I know. It's like, I used to feel like I had to, I don't feel this anymore. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I felt like I would have to buy something because if it was an exploitation title from that I loved when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, I have to have all my favorite gore films, and I have to have all the Friday the 13th movies, and I have to have all the Hellraiser movies. And I have gotten over that because I realized that, you know, there are certain movies, like a lot of the gory movies I watched as a kid, that, like the Friday the 13th movies, don't have a lot to offer me anymore. I know some people live by them, but I never thought that they were particularly good movies in the first place, although I still like the first one a lot. And then they just got goofy. But, you know, when Shout Factory puts out movies like Night of the Comet or something, I remember when I saw Night of the Comet on a Sunday afternoon when the weekend it opened, and I'm like, I have to have this. But you watch it again, and you're like, okay, I'm probably never going to see this movie anymore, but or watch it again. But, you know, it's great that they put it out. But I feel like you got to support, and so you keep that stuff coming. At least I sort of feel that way. Perhaps I'm wrong. Topher Rocks sent in another super chat. Thank you, Topher Rocks. X-Men. Oh, First Class has a great montage as well. Do you think we'll ever see great parody films like Airplane and The Naked Gun anytime soon? Love those movies. You know, I don't know. That's a good question. X-Men First Class does have a good montage. You know, I do love me a good montage. But you know, those parody movies, like when Airplane and Top Secret and The Naked Gun movies came out, they were really groundbreaking. I mean, Airplane is still, I think, one of the most hilarious movies ever made. But I think that was, again, maybe that was a product of its time. I don't know. My friend Alan Spencer created a TV show called Sledgehammer. They're trying to bring back, and I hope that he does that because that would be great. Clayton Jordan says, I pretty much have the entire run of Questar. I'm running out of storage room. I may have to sell some stuff. Yeah, I had the entire run. I sold mine, but except I kept the Dawn of the Dead poster book. Joseph Iraq says, I love the first season of Discovery, but the second season is a complete bullshit. They're suddenly retconning all the technology they themselves introduced in the first season. It's so, I can't even watch it. The last episode was like Ghostbusters. You know, there's a mushroom organism inside Tilly, basically Slimer, and it's just so. And then they find this giant, you know, dying sphere, and that dying sphere, here's all the information the sphere has. What information does the sphere have? It's been sitting in one place, presumably. I mean, they throw out these science fiction concepts without explaining. It's just, don't get me started. Captain Robert April says Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield was the first ever release from Virgin Records. Yeah, Tubular Bells was the music that they played in The Exorcist. The Exorcist doesn't have an underscore, whereas The Omen is full of this beautiful score. The Exorcist doesn't have a score. Beatmaster says, the King of Scotland is not hard to find quality content in music. First point, quality is subjective. If the measure is in box office fame, then you're measuring it wrong, in my humble opinion. I think that's a good point. I mean, I never thought that box office has any necessarily linked quality, although most films that did well at the box office are quality movies. Writer BL Ali says, did you say The Incredible Melting Man was goofy or goopy? It's both. It's both. Donnie Pearson says, hello, everyone. Hello, Rob. I'm binge watching the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Netflix app, among other things. Well, that's cool. See, I have a love-hate relationship with those shows because I love Japanese sci-fi, and I don't like what they did with it, but that's just me. I mean, I know everyone grew up on that stuff. I was a little old for it, but I love Japanese sci-fi. It's great. Garon Gilham asks, Rob, I find myself taking notes during all of your videos, furiously writing down your recommendations for movies, books, etc. You're giving me more content to overwhelm my pattern buffers. Well, you know what? First of all, thank you for that. I can't. That makes me really happy to hear, because if there's nothing I'm doing, it's I want to share my enthusiasm for all of the stuff that I love, and if I can steer you to something that I think is great that you can go consume and pass it on to somebody else, I figure that's kind of the point of why I'm here, because I'm interested in so many things. It was funny once, I think it was my friend Steve Melching, who's an animation writer, who's worked on every animated show known to man. He was giving people like superhero names, and my superhero, I was the Watcher. He called me the Watcher because I try and stay abreast of movies and comics and books, and I do because I love it. Josh Crichton says, have you seen the trailer for the David Icke documentary called Renegade about his life and works? Now, no, but I did watch some David Icke documentary. David Icke is the purveyor of this thought that the human race is being lorded over by lizard creatures, basically, which is interesting. But David Icke's an interesting cat, and I did watch a David Icke documentary, but this was a couple years back. Pre-Life Teaser says the saga of the Green Ranger is actually a good storyline. Writer BLL says the Quest for Tapes by Gene Roddenberry and Gene Kuhn. The Quest for Tapes is a TV movie, really interesting. It was also had a novelization as well. You can get that book. Let's see. Beatmaster says the King of Scotland. There are so many stories about books, movies, etc., that were found decades later and celebrated back when there wasn't too much content. It always happened. Yeah, I guess it kind of did. Garen Gilham says, Discovery is not good enough to be near the top of my content list. The Expanse is so much better. Many other shows are so much better. As a 40-year Star Trek fan, that makes me sad. It makes me sad too. I just think that Discovery, the people writing Discovery, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't hate on that show just to hate on it. They've clearly got a lot of money. They've got good actors. They've got a lot of great talent, but it's frequently just let down by the writing. I mean, the stories they're just not good. But I don't begrudge anybody who likes Discovery. Sub McShay says, I just found out that an old school friend have worked on over 15 Marvel and Star Wars movies as a compositor and lead compositor. I had no idea. I'm happy for him. Isn't that cool when you find out that people have been working on these movies? That's great. Quentin Wong says, I remember Schnepp saying that the execs at Warner Brothers officially named the DC movie universe the DCFU. Do you remember what the F stood for? I think it was DC Filmic Universe, but I remember when we heard that, and we thought that was ridiculous. The DCFU. Yeah. Bunyan Snipe says Sledgehammer was amazing. Is David Raish going to play the new Sledgehammer's dad? I don't know. That'd be cool if he did. I just know that Alan Spencer's involved with it, and Alan Spencer is great. Pre-Life Teaser says, Rob, what's your favorite Saturday morning cartoon? I loved Visionaries. Probably, come on, Star Trek the Animated Series. It's my favorite animated. I like Thundar the Barbarian. And Ookla the Mock. I was a big fan of that. Donnie Pearson says, well, some people consider Power Rangers and its Japanese basis Super Sentai sci-fi, but there are elements of sci-fi mixed in with those of action, adventure, and martial arts. I agree. Josh Crichton just sent me a super chat. Rob, have you seen the trailer for More Human Than Human that comes out on the Dust channel for AI Week? It starts tomorrow. I did watch that trailer because you did tweet it to me. And, Dust is a really interesting channel. It's a YouTube channel that does they're showing a lot of sci-fi shorts, and they have this new AI documentary called More Human Than Human, which is, of course, the Tyrell Corporation saying. And I will watch that. But I did watch that, Josh, because you told me to. And that was great. It looks good. Joseph Iraq says, Tilly is annoying as fuck, just like Burnham, who overreacts on every scene. Love Pike and Saru, though. Is it just me, or is Rebecca Romaine hotter than ever? Rebecca Romaine is hotter than ever. I do love Pike, and I like Saru, but this idea that, his ganglia fell off, and now he's the man without fear. He's Daredevil. Saru should don a Daredevil outfit and become a superheroic crime fighter. Bakarat asks, Rob, when are you going to watch Dragon Ball Super Broly? I don't know. I mean, somebody said I've never seen an episode of Dragon Ball Z, so I need to get into it. Quentin Wong says, oh my God, yes, the female lead in Discovery, every scene she's in has the same deer caught in headlights look, really distracting. Writer BL Ali says, I believe DC Fontana wrote the Quester tapes novelization. She might very well have. I don't remember. I used to have it. Let's see. Joseph Iraq says, is it just me, or does Discovery have more producers and cast members? It does. And what are those producers doing? I don't know. Kush says Flashpoint universe. Maybe. I don't know what's happening. I did like the Flashpoint comic. I have that. It's Jay Blouge. Jay Blouge. Oh, I got it. Jay Blouge. I got it. That's how you pronounce your name. Jay Blouge. Okay. I like that. We appreciate your recommendations. Well, thank you, Jay Blouge. I like that. I'm glad you like the recommendations. I will keep them coming. Jerome Gilham says, Star Trek Discovery episode Points of Life. Ash, the Klingons are growing their hair out. Burnham, yes, because the war is over, right? Ash, yes, that's right. Very subtle. Well, the Klingons, the only problem with that is we watched the entire Dominion War arc on Deep Space Nine, and Klingons never cut their hair. I mean, that whole idea is stupid. I mean, it's just weird. Greg Smith is here. Greg Smith sent me a new video about him building the 1-to-1 scale probe droid that will be unveiled at the Emerald City Comic Con next month. I'm going to put it up. Greg says, interesting topic. I recall how cool the Star Wars sketchbook was. Not aimed at kids or adults, just fans. Not everyone had everything, so we would get together and share. I agree. I mean, that was one of the funny things that we were able to do. And it was fun. I mean, it was fun getting together and sharing this stuff with your friends. It was great. Homer Frizzell said, loved hearing the Babylon 5 love on the Inglorious Trexperts when Walter Koenig was on. Yeah, it was great. I loved being on. Listen to our podcast, Inglorious Trexperts, if you love Star Trek. We did an episode with Walter Koenig, and it was pretty amazing. Someone just sent in a Goku's on to Biz. Is that how you pronounce it? Goku Sound Biz. Send in a super chat. I just watched Death of Superman Lives. What happened? I found it very informative. Also enjoyed you in the documentary. I wish I knew they were shooting my legs so you could see my legs. I wouldn't have worn shorts. I look goofy, but thank you for that. That's a really great documentary. If you haven't seen John Schnepp's documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, about Tim Burton's ill-fated Superman movie that he never made, that Nicolas Cage was supposed to star in, look at John's documentary. It's great. Good stuff. Writer B.L. Ali says, I know a lot more about sci-fi and film in general, but Rob makes me look like an amateur. Well, it's all out there. It's been something that I've been following for a long time. That's what's so great is I can just share all this information and it goes somewhere. Vesta says, Robert, quick question. Escape Room, The Mule, Cold Pursuit, The Favorite, Vice, Mary Queen of Scots, what to watch first? They're all playing here this week. Wow, that's a tough one. I really like The Favorite. I have not seen Vice was a little disappointing to me. My friend directed Escape Room. Everyone likes The Mule. I haven't seen Cold Pursuit, and I haven't seen Mary Queen of Scots. So the only one I've seen The Favorite and Vice. I really like The Favorite a lot. So I'd say check that out. Bennett Hardy says, wasn't here if you responded, but Endgame, though, is going to be amazing. Can't wait. Going to LA. I did respond. And I know it's going to be great because I don't know what I'd do if it's not Endgame reference. I think Endgame's going to kick all kinds of unholy ass, to be honest. I can't wait. Jock Jabroni says, greetings from the Med Bay. Greetings to you, Jabroni. Let's see. Jonas Carl says, your voice sounds hoarse. Hope you're not sick. I'm not sick. I was doing something yesterday where I yelled a lot. And those who know me might know what that is, but I'm neither confirming or denying anything about that. But yes, it's hoarse. Garon Gillum says, Kush, also behold the real D7. We will build thousands of these new real D7s. Yeah. What the hell, man? Where's the D1 through 6? So lame. Josh Crichton says, Rob, do you think we'll see Steve Carell as the Penguin in the new Batman movie? I don't know. That's a good idea, though. I think he'd be great. That's good casting. Bunyan Snipe says, when I was a kid, a local toy store had a 10-foot high stack of Macquarie portfolios for 50 pence each. My mom allowed me to buy one. The Ralph McQuarrie Star Wars portfolio is one of the greatest things ever. I think every kid my age had one of them, bought them, and tacked those paintings to their wall because I know I did. It was great. The Blue Corner says, have you ever seen the show Dark Matter? I haven't. Somebody asked me about that the other day. I have not. I'll have to check it out. Bunyan Snipe says Star Wars. You must have been responding to somebody else. Quentin Wong says, if Captain Marvel falls short at the box office, do you think they'll bring in Rogue to absorb her so we can actually get the Rogue fans like? What Quentin is referring to is one of my favorite comic books, which is Avengers Annual number 10, where Rogue is introduced and she steals Carol Danvers' powers. It's drawn by Michael Golden, and it's just one of Claremont wrote it, and it's one of the Chris Claremont wrote it. It's one of the great comics. Goku Sanbiz says, I think it's Goku Sanbiz, asks, thanks for the super chat, by the way, what is your opinion of Deep Space Nine? I adore Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I think it's probably the best of the modern Treks, although it took a while. They kept changing their premise the first couple of years. Once you get to season 4 on, and I dare say season 6 is the best, strongest episode of modern Star Trek. It's amazing. Reese Williams says, hey, Rob, how's things? I saw the Lego Movie 2 yesterday and loved it, but didn't have the charm of the original. No, I didn't think it did, but man, I love that song about Gotham guys. It was great. Let's see. Pre-live teaser says, can't believe that I've mislaid my copy of Avengers Annual 10. Got to find that. It's a great comic. Writer BL Ali says, Captain Marvel is going to kick unholy ass. I hope so, too. It looks like it's going to kick unholy ass. Crixus Maximus says, Macquarie X-Wing looks better than the New Hope X-Wing. They sort of use that design, but not quite the same in the more recent movies. I agree. I liked the Macquarie design, but they did go back to it. Joseph Eric says, Rob, I'm sorry. I'd love to chip in a super chat, but for some reason it says not available in my region. Anyway, what's your favorite Voyager episode? You know what? My favorite, it's okay that you can't chip in. I appreciate you even thinking about it. My favorite Voyager episode is probably an episode called Blink of an Eye, where the Voyager gets stuck in orbit above a planet where time passes much more quickly, and their presence has an effect on the population. I just love the episode. I thought it was great. Really good stuff. That was a lot of fun. Dr. Gaster says, your thought on the CW show, The 100. I haven't seen a lot of The 100. I liked it. I haven't been a religious watcher. That was a show I just tuned in and checked out kind of randomly. I thought some of it was good. I like the characters, but I don't know enough about it really to make to cause. Should I watch it? Is it worth watching? Rob, if you could choose one Star Trek novel to be made into a film or series, which one would it be? Easy. The Reeves Stevens Prime Directive. If I was in charge of modern Star Trek and had the cast, I would make Prime Directive. I love that book so much. I think it should get made. Dale M says, Rob, The Flash is one of, if not my all-time favorite superheroes. In your opinion, why can't DC get it going? Cinematic Flash movie could be great, and Aquaman proved that you don't have to be Batman to work. Again, I think coming up with a great, I think a Flash movie has the same problem that Superman has. It's really hard to come up with one story that's plausible for a movie. I mean, we've seen Flash keeps returning to the same tropes on the TV show. So how do you create a great Flash story that'll work as a 2-hour film? I don't know. But I love The Flash. Kush says, I love the Hydrogen story arc in Voyager. That was really good. The Hydrogen story arc was really good. I like what they did with that. Um, Reese Williams says favorite Tom Cruise movie. That's okay. Risky Business is one of them. Probably Jerry Maguire. I love Jerry Maguire. I love Risky Business. I love Jerry Maguire. I love A Few Good Men. Um, I love Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat, or All You Need Is Kill, whatever you want to call it. Hands of Stone asks, have you ever watched the sci-fi series Odyssey 5 with Peter Weller? I have. I liked Odyssey 5 a lot. I think I saw all the episodes. I liked Odyssey 5. It was interesting. Jonas Kari says, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker, but I've always been convinced to abandon the dream because it's unrealistic. After watching you in Campia for a while, I'm going to apply to film school soon. Well, you don't even have to apply to film school. I think I started making Super 8 movies when I was a little kid with my Star Wars action figures, and shot on Super 8 film. I started cutting film. But with iPhones now, you carry around a 4K camera. I mean, Steven Soderbergh made Unsane and his new basketball film with iPhones. So, if you want to be a filmmaker, there's nothing stopping you. You should go out and make a film. Write a film and go make it. Sebastian says, hey, Rob, good to see you. Good to see you, too. I'm sorry, it was every other day I was doing these and not every day. I was just slammed with work. There is Gilbert. Joseph says, Blink of an Eye is my favorite too. Second favorite is Timeless. Timeless is really good. I really like Year of Hell, despite the ending. And I really love Living Witness. I think Living Witness is not only is it a great Voyager episode, it's just a great science fiction story. Crixus Maximus says, novel to movie. I vote Best Destiny. Best Destiny is good. I like that book. Ryder Biel Ali says, I've mentioned it before, but if you like the Voyager episode Blink of an Eye, read Dragon's Egg and Starquake by Robert Forward. I will. Those are good choices. I've heard those are great. I got to read those. Josh Crichton says, Rob, have you heard that Marvel is reissuing Avengers 71 Endgame and 343 The Gathering Saga in April? Does that mean we see Kang and the Black Knight in Avengers Endgame? I've been saying this. I have no knowledge of this at all. None. Zero. But I think Kang is in Endgame. I think they know what they're doing. I don't know about the Black Knight. Maybe the Black Knight. That could be. But, I mean, just going after Thanos won. Like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do to Thanos? I mean, he already, unless they go back through time and prevent the snap. But I think there's something else going on in Avengers Endgame. Goku Sanbiz says, what do you think of stop motion animated films? I love stop motion animated movies. I mean, all the way back to Willis O'Brien and Ray Harryhausen. I love stop motion animation. When I was a kid, I couldn't get the Jason and the Argonauts skeleton battle at the end. I couldn't get enough of that. I love those movies. Even modern stop motion animation movies like Nightmare Before Christmas. As you can see, I've got a Jack Skellington and the Jack Skellington from James and the Giant Peach. I'm a huge stop motion fan. Love stop motion. Thanks for that super chat question, by the way. Was Timeless when Harry and Chakotay go back in time? Yes, Kush, that was the episode. Beatmaster says, thanks for the super chat. Thoughts on Deadly Class being about kids killing each other? I enjoy the show. Never thought about that until I heard Kevin Smith mention this. Deadly Class is awesome. The comic was awesome. The show is awesome. But yeah, just like the Hunger Games, it's about, or Battle Royale, kids killing each other. I mean, I don't know if that means that we shouldn't have that because of, kids' school shootings or whatever. But, I think it's great. I think the cast for Deadly Class is really good. Robert April says, I'd like to see a CGI version of The Return. That's the second Shatner novel that he wrote with the Reeve Stevens after The Ashes of Eden. It's a great book. I love that book. But yeah, you could do it CGI. That'd be cool. Last King of Scotland says, Jason Bateman needs more work. He's underrated. He's totally underrated, and I love him on Ozark, and he's great. Clayton George says, Trek novel, the movie Easy, the final reflection, the story of the Klingon Empire. That would be great. I would love to see a final reflection movie. If you guys love Klingons, you should read the final reflection. It's terrific. Gardner Holland says, Rob, didn't know Amazon picked up The Expanse, binge season 3 last night. Awesome series. I can't wait. Chronopolis was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, it seems. Yes, I think it was, says Bunyan Snipe. Garon Gilham says, Prime Directive was really good. What did you think of Diane Carey's Dreadnought? Dreadnought was a little Mary Sue to me. I think it literally is a Mary Sue book. but I liked it. At Star Trek and LV last year, I picked up her second or her signed copy that she gave to Gene, which I didn't realize until later. Wow. Yeah, that's great. Reese Williams said, I'd love to watch a video of you and John Campea talking about Avengers Endgame theories all day long. Yeah, it'd be fun. I just can't believe we're basically 2 months away from seeing it. Goku Sanbiz says, sends in a super chat and asks, what are my thoughts on the amazing Don Bluth? I love Don Bluth. For those of you who don't know, Don Bluth is an animator. He made things like The Secret of Nim, and he also did the Dragon's Lair video game. He's a terrific animator, and I love those movies. I thought Secret of Nim was great. Charlie Rogers says, I love James and the Giant Peach. I was so surprised at how amazing that movie was. Roald Dahl's book was one of my favorite books growing up. I thought the movie was, I really wanted to see the movie in live action. It was a cool stop motion movie, but I wanted to see live action. Jonas Kari asks, do you think Thanos dies in Endgame? No, I don't. Rob, did you read the Star Trek 4 book series, The Seekers? I didn't. I don't think I did read that. Star Trek 4 book series? I don't think so. Oh, did you read the Star Trek 4 book series, The Seekers? I didn't read that one. I have it all, but I didn't read that. Joseph Eric says, have you heard of the Italian comic book series Benelli? I've heard of it, but I've never read it. They have heroes like Zagor, Tex, Mr. No. They also publish Dylan Dog. Yeah, which is, Dylan Dog with actually the producer of Superman Returns. Produced Dylan Dog. Crixus Maximus says, I have an idea. Tears of the Singers. That's Melinda Snodgrass's book that she wrote, who went on to produce Next Gen. Andrew K. Channel says, do you think that Galactus will be in Endgame? You know what? I'd like to believe that at the end of the credits of Endgame, we see Galactus. Because why not? The real Galactus in his giant ship. The Jack Kirby Galactus. Rob, yesterday was my birthday. My grandmother, this is Josh Crichton, my grandma got Black Widow. Josh Crichton says, Rob, yesterday was my birthday. My grandmother got me the Black Widow hot toy from Avengers Infinity War. How long do they take to ship? Well, that figures out. So if you got it from Big Bad Toy Store or from Sideshow, you'll probably get it in a week. Vesna says, Robert, thank you for pronouncing my name correctly with S. And by the way, Vesna is a Slavic goddess of spring. So if you want good weather, you have to be good to me. Just kidding. I will keep that in mind. Vesna, goddess of spring. Captain Robert April says, Thanos didn't die in Infinity Gauntlet. Why should he die in Endgame? I don't think he should. I don't think Thanos should die. Charlie Rogers says, do you think the Avengers will end up teaming up with Thanos in Endgame? I hope not. I hate that guy. I don't know. They might. It depends what happens. I just love the idea that we have no idea what happens at Endgame at all. I love that. Aaron. Okay. Garen Gilham says, my name is pronounced like Aaron with a G. Garen. Okay, don't worry. You're not the first one to mispronounce it, and you won't be the last. Garen, I like that. Okay, Garen. Hands of Stone says, one of my favorite animated films is Ralph Bakshi's American Pop. I loved American Pop, actually. For those of you who don't know, Ralph Bakshi made the Fritz the Cat movies. He also made a movie called Coonskin. And then he did American Pop. He did Fire and Ice. And he also did the first version, the animated version of Lord of the Rings. Goku Sanbiz says, Hot Toys question, do they make a Dragon Ball Z one? I don't think they do. I'm pretty sure they don't. Maybe they did. I don't know. Bunyan Snipe says, Galactus pulls a Thanos at the end of Avengers at the end of Endgame. I would love to see that, man. They could do it. They could do it. Dale M says, Vesna, the goddess of the Burnett chat stream. All hail the goddess. I'm sure Vesna will like that. I appreciate her support. Josh says, my grandmother ordered it from Sideshow Collectibles. Sideshow Collectibles is the American hot toy distributor. There's no place to get hot toys faster than from Sideshow. So you'll get it within a week for sure, depending on where it's going. Sebastian says, how do you prioritize what to watch in these days that we get flooded with amazing entertainment? I'm a 90s kid trying to catch up on all the great classics, especially in sci-fi horror of the 20th century. I know you just got to prioritize. You got to do it every day. You got to chip away. But get Alan Frank's Sci-Fi Now, the book I started talking about, because it's great. James LH sends in a super chat question. Hi, Rob. Thoughts on Orson Welles? I know Kane is seen as being the greatest. I really like Touch of Evil. I do too. If so, do you prefer with or without the Mancini theme during the amazing opening scene? I like Touch of Evil without. For those who don't know, you got to watch. I don't want to ruin it, but the opening scene of Touch of Evil is amazing, and I prefer it without the music because it seems to me more suspenseful that way. I love Orson Welles. I mean, I like Magnificent Ambersons. I like F for Fake. You know, his career is very interesting, and if you love Welles, you've got to watch the documentary and then The Other Side of the Wind that's on Netflix now. The Love Me When I'm Dead is the documentary, and The Other Side of the Wind is a Welles movie that never got finished, and they finished it and put it on Netflix. But if you haven't seen Touch of Evil, and especially if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, you must watch them. They're fantastic. Bunyan Snipe says Luke Hemsworth as Ben Grimm. That's not bad. I like that casting. Joseph says, I had no idea a new Twilight Zone was coming until I saw the Super Bowl trailer. It was produced by Jordan Peele. Yeah, and he's the new Jordan Peele himself is the new Rod Serling. Fred Hensley says, inquiring minds want to know, what does an Endgame unsnap look and sound like? I don't know. We're going to find out. Gilbert is here and he wants to play. Maybe I can give him some of his favorite cookies. You want a cookie, Gilbert? Because you haven't been on the show in a while. I'm going to give Gilbert a cookie. See if I can get him to jump up. Come on, Gilbert. Gilbert, come here. Come on. There he goes. Got him to jump up. Yes. Okay. You want a cookie? Yeah. I love listening to Gilbert eat. It's like an ASMR video, right? Listen to that. All right, Gilbert, one more time. Man, I love this dog. Look at how giant he's getting. He's almost 60 pounds now. Right, buddy? Yes, dude. Yes, you're a good boy. Well, give me a kiss, baby. He always gives me kisses. Charlie Rogers says, I really think that the events of Infinity War and Endgame are a perfect way to bring in mutants. I do too. What do you think, Gilbert? Do you want to see mutants brought into the MCU? Scarlet Witch could change reality and bring in mutants. What do you think? I don't know. Gilbert's contemplating that. Captain Robert April says, ever see the Orson Welles documentary F for Fake? Wild movie available on YouTube. Yes, it's also on Blu-ray. Dale M says, Gilbert is so darn cute. He is very cute. Cute doctor. A cute dog. Well, my voice is sort of thrashed, and Gilbert is barking. So I think I'm going to bring this chat to a close. I want to thank all of you, the members of the Post Geek Singularity community, for being here. Thanks for the support on the channel, the super chats, and go to my website, theburnettwork.net, where all of the chats that I do are collected. And there's other stuff up there, documentary material on Axanar and all kinds of things. So thanks for that. And thanks for the support on the Patreon channel. I'm going to put up another video of Greg Smith building his probe droid from The Empire Strikes Back exclusively for my Patreon supporters. And then Ripped with Rob becomes a Patreon exclusive. And I'm going to drop my Ripped with Rob Moonrakers, my drunk Moonraker commentary that I'm going to cut together, and that'll be up for Patreon only subscribers. So yeah, I'm stepping it up, and watch this space because, I mean, look at this. John Campy, he's schooling me. I got this switcher that's going to allow me to use Wirecast and have graphics and interactivity. And it's going to be like a regular television studio here for the Burnettwork. And you're going to see the quality of these chats go up exponentially. So using Wirecast software and using this switcher, which is really awesome, that I'm looking forward to. I'm going to set it all up. I got new lights, probably going to change the background up. It's going to be fun here at the Burnettwork on my Robservations chats. So remember, everybody, every person you know has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. All you have to do is listen. Thanks to all of you for being here on this Sunday. I will be back live on the John Campy Show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, where I'm sure we'll have lots of interesting things to discuss. And yeah, so enjoy your Sunday.